Hello and welcome back. So today I'm going to talk about the next class in the curriculum, SER2, which means Somato-Emotional Release 2, which is about intention, inner physician, and dialogue, deepening principles and practice. So we are practicing more like dialoguing. It is more experiential. We experience things, we see what comes up, and how Dr. Upledger teaches it, and that's what I liked about it. Whatever comes up for the person on the table, that is true. You do not judge it. I don't, like for me personally, whatever someone comes in with and tells me, I don't judge it. Because what do I know? I'm not God. I don't know if their experience is true or not, but it is their experience. So I honor their experience. And like Dr. Upledger says, if your client needs to go back into the spaceship because they were abducted, you go with them. It doesn't matter if you believe in aliens and spaceships. I don't watch science fiction movies. I'm like, yeah, well, I have science fiction on the table when someone comes in. So wherever the person is going, that's where you're going. Non-judgment, being in the now. I love it. Anyway, so my SER2 experience was pretty intense, but I had, like I said, I had a lot of medical and psycho-spiritual trauma and being so empathic, lack of boundaries, just like the way I was raised. My mother constantly just talking about sickness, disease, others, negativity. So nobody teaching me how to be like in this world, how to even have our own boundaries. So of course, it was just full of stuff. And I wanted to show something else. So those reads are like really interesting if you're interested in somato-emotional release, like stories of people, how they released their trauma and how it healed them in the body, because again, stays in your body. So somato-emotional release, those are some case stories in there. But also looking at the structural, like the structure and how those events stay in the fascia, in the nervous system, and have an effect on the body. And here's another book written by a medical doctor, and it's more for the psychologist, body psychology, but again, it's really interesting. Many people have heard about it. It's The Body Keeps the Score. This is a great book because it's been researched, and your body keeps the score, and it keeps the score of things that you might not even think have been significant. Like I said in my past video with this person I was dating when I was 18, I'm like, oh, I've completely forgotten about that person. If I had gone into my own session, someone, has anything ever happened to you in your life? I'm like, yeah, well, whatever the things were. I would have never thought about that. But that had an impact because it was stuck in my arm. So that's the beauty of those treatments. So back to my SER2 experience. I was in a group of 4. I knew, so we, have lecture and then we treatment. And I was already a little bit, not frustrated, but I'm like, yeah, it was already day 3, I think. Yeah, it was day 3 or 4 out of 4. And I'm like, yeah, I really want to get something out of it, because I felt I was just always, again, giving, but I was a lead therapist, assistant, but I didn't get anything while I was on the table. People weren't there, like, putting me in the right space. But then a fellow therapist, John, was in that class, and I said to him, hey, when we're doing the experiential, like when we get on the table, the treatment, can I be in your group? So we managed, another story is going to be a little bit longer, but I ended up being in this group. We were a group of 4. Were we 4? 1, 2, 4 or 5? 4. And I wanted to be last on the table. I always prefer to be last on the table because back then, my sessions were so intense, I needed to afterwards just like, chill and try to get my way back to the hotel room and then just crash. So we had already worked on the other 2 participants, sorry, my English, participants. And the person that was on the table, the therapist that was on the table before it was my turn, everything she was just talking about, she was talking about trauma, but she wasn't really, to me, it didn't feel that significant because she was just judging and blaming everything like on everybody else. And I'm like, just like, okay, just hanging in there. I'm like, okay, that's, meeting her at where she's at. Then once she was done, took a bathroom break. I went on the table, I lay down, and I think John was my lead therapist, which was good because he could put me right into that frequency. He's really a really great therapist. And I'm laying on the table, and I said, especially because the first person must have gotten on my nerves a little bit, the person that was ahead of me in the treatment, and I said, I take responsibility for anything I have ever done in my life and for anything that has ever happened to me, which included my medical trauma and all these sorts. So I'm like, I take responsibility for the things that have happened to me. And then John said, yeah, and everybody else. And I'm like, boom, and I went down the rabbit hole. Because that was the not empowered empath. And that's why people think, oh, I'm so empathic. It's like, no, we have no boundaries. And I'm like, exactly. I would feel bad for the things other people did because they couldn't even see what they were doing. So when he said that, that sent me down the rabbit hole. Oh my God, it was an intense session. My body was like twisting and turning on the table. I kept seeing, I went down, I kept seeing Jesus, and I'm like, oh my goodness. But I kept going with it because I'm not afraid. After everything I had already been through with my healing, I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm not going to die on the table. I've never heard anybody died in the Upledger classes. So I'm like, I'm just going to go. This is crazy good. I think it got to a point where 2-3 of the teaching assistants were even around the table. I kept going. I was releasing and crying and releasing and stories. And I'm like, I can't even remember what all the stories were about, but it was pretty intense. Afterwards, after that session, it went on for a while. I got up. Obviously, it was the end of the class, and I tried to get back to my hotel. I didn't stay in the hotel where the class was because I was still kind of like saving money. I mean, it was in the beginning of my training, maybe 10 years ago. No, maybe, I don't know, 16, 15, whatever, 12 years ago. But I went back to the room and I needed food. And here I am, and my body was just shaking. I was still releasing. I was just shaking. My nervous system was going crazy from all the releases, all the things that I had stored in my body. I mean, there's still more to come, but at that point, let's say this class in time, it just came out, and I was sitting, I think I went to a Denny's or something, whatever was there, and I'm sitting at the counter, and I ordered my food to go, and I said to the clerk behind the cashier, I'm like, I'm gonna pay. I said, I'm not sick, I just need to sit, I just cannot look. I couldn't even look up straight, so I was just sitting there like this, waiting for my food to be delivered. Took it, went back to my room, ate it, I went to bed. I was shaking the whole night. In the morning was the last day of class, Sunday. I went to class, and I was still shaking from everything. Literally, I had to sit in our round circle. I don't know, we were like 40 people. I don't know how many therapists we were, because in the morning we would talk about our experience from the day before. I was just sitting there. I shared a little bit, but I was still shaking. And for me just to be grounded, because there was so much trauma, John just put his foot on my foot. I remember that for him, just to try to ground me and have me stay in my body. Anyway, so that was my Somato Emotional Release 2 experience, and that was also the beginning of, becoming aware of how much trauma and how much I had stored in my body, but in my body that was never in alignment, because I was twisted already from birth. I was probably twisted because I took, obviously like everybody, I took on all my mother's stuff. So I was full of, I call it full of the universe and the suffering of the world. Again, thank you for listening, and I'm gonna go to the next class. They might not all be so traumatic, but there's always something in it to learn. Thank you for listening.